Hello and good morning. Welcome to Ice Cream Uploads here today for Tuesday, the 3rd of December. I'm here today, as always, but I've got a brand new co-host today because it's Graham's birthday. I would like to welcome my good friend.
Hello, and happy birthday, Graham, if you're watching. He might be, or he's probably got better things to do.
I imagine he's probably got better things to do. Like Danielle's probably taking the day off as well, and they've gone somewhere that does stupidly big pancakes with a lot of bacon, a lot of... whatever that sauce is. What's the sauce that they put on top of it?
Oh, you mean
golden
like
syrup?
Yeah,
like golden syrup and stuff like that on top of it.
Oh, yeah. He'll be having burgers and stuff like that, won't he?
Absolutely, he's going to have a full fat day. But yes, this is The Scoop. It's the show where we bring you all the video game news from around the world here in a very small little package each and every weekday. This is a weird one again because we're in a little small space that we created with a lot of gaffer tape paper and a few wires being plugged in from one room to another. Hopefully the stream will be a lot more stable today because we've ran an Ethernet cable from one end of the office through doors and through little twilight zones and things like that, running through a converter and then more Ethernet cables pulling through, so hopefully it will be a lot more stable for you. Thank you for bearing with us yesterday when we was having a lot of technical difficulties.
Still got the wording difficulties, but
it's the dry throat, mate. You know when you're ready to go live and you think, shit, I haven't got a drink.
Yeah.
I've made a drink. I've not taken a sip of it yet. Maybe when we get into a few stories this morning. But I can see a few people that have joined us in the chat this morning. Kangurla Dog, Mr. Alpidinio, and Number One Pirate. Tone better if you both have a bit of stubble at the minimum. What about your small package? There is nothing wrong with my small package. It's very functional, and it's getting moderate action.
Yeah, well, let's not talk about
not from this guy.
Let's not talk about that. Not in front of the camera, go on.
Well, it's coming up to Christmas, so you never know. But I hope you're all doing well this morning. Again, happy birthday to Graham. Hope you have a smashing day, pal, and you're leaving me in some very capable hands of Mr. Luke. It's been a while since you've been on, hasn't it?
It's been a little while, yeah. It's definitely the first time I've been on with you because it's usually me and Graham when I do take over. So
usually when I'm wagging it or something like that. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, we've got a pretty jam-packed show, to be honest with you, so we're going to try and get through it as I don't want to say as fast as possible because it feels like we're rushing you guys, but we have got quite a lot of things to talk about, and there was a little clickbaity title that I put out about something about Spiderman, but that is not the first news story that we're going to get into today. I feel like there's something bigger on the horizon. Not only is it Graham's birthday today, but it's another consistent thing within our lives.
Yeah.
Today.
I know exactly what you're on about. On about a certain games company that some people may have heard of. Goes by no PlayStation, I believe.
Absolutely. So yes, it is a 25 years of PlayStation. Is it their actual birthday today? I've got a feeling it could be around this time for the holiday.
I remember seeing a tweet yesterday from them saying, like, specifying today, like tomorrow it's 25th birthday, so it must be like something particular today, yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if it was around today, this early parts of this week, purely because it's getting the run up to Christmas.
Yeah.
You want to try and get this sort of stuff out. But yes, it's the 25th anniversary of the original PlayStation. That would have made me 4 when this came out.
Yeah.
Oh, in fact, I was 3 because my birthday is in 6 days' time.
So I would have been like 6 or 7. Been 7, yeah.
But this is again, I apologise that we're not able. Usually we would be able to bring the article up for you so we can read it all together, and with the setup that we've got at the moment, that is just not possible. However, what I can do for you is, like yesterday, I can go into Twitch. Hopefully it won't bring down the internet. It shouldn't do because we're using Ethernet cables. But I will drop them in the chat so that you can read them along with us. Now, this is a hell of an article. It is an absolute beast. So we will pick and choose what we're going to read about this, and we'll also get into the 10 games that they think were defining titles for the console.
Yeah, sounds good.
I'm just going to catch up with the chat first. Happy birthday, Grey Day, says Dan Lad Gaming. Welcome, mate. Hope you're doing all right. The way you looked at Jeroen after, I swear to God, Alexa woke me up with a random fact every morning. It was like it was the 25th birthday of PlayStation today. Alexa knows what you want, mate. They know exactly what you want to get. News from them, news from us. We're going to go into it a little bit more deeper. Again, this is the link is now in the chat for you to be able to follow along with us this morning. It's been written on the Metro by Gamecentral, the name of who I don't know. It must be a group of people or someone that's just embarrassed to put the name towards it. I don't know. But 25 years of PlayStation and the 10 games that defined the PS1. The PlayStation brand is 25 years old today as Gamecentral celebrates the 10 games that cemented the PS1 success on the world stage. On Saturday the 3rd of December 1994, the first ever PlayStation video games console was sold in Japan. As was the way back then, it didn't appear on the West until almost a year later, launching in America on the 9th of September 1995. And in Europe on the 29th of September. But by the time it did come available in the UK, it was already obvious that it was set to change the face of games forever. That's not the slightest hint of a hyperbole in that statement. Purely on the technical level, there's never been a bigger jump from the 2D graphics of the Mega Drive and the SNES to the 3D visuals of the PlayStation 1 generation. Not until we're plugging in holodecks into our head anyway. But while the Nintendo 64 was the most powerful console of the generation, Sony made it even more important in innovation in terms of the types of games it produced and how it promoted them. If it was left to Nintendo, video games, no matter how good they may be, would still be targeted primarily at children, and certainly their own titles would never feature any of the kinds of realistic violence, sexual content, or complex storytelling. But Sony embraced all this and more with the basic technology of the PlayStation 1. While Nintendo's console had better 3D graphics, the PlayStation used CD-ROMs instead of cartridges, allowing it to revolutionise the use of pre-rendered visuals, sound, and music within video games. So that was a tasty little introduction to this. Now, before we get into the top 10, because I stupidly scrolled down and checked the top 10, I want to know at least your top 3 PlayStation 1 games.
Right, okay.
Let's see if they made the list.
Bear in mind here that I didn't own a PlayStation 1. But, so I'm going to guess what is likely to be there, though. Metal Gear Solid's got to be there.
Absolutely.
Was the original Tomb Raider released on? Yeah, go Tomb Raider. Final Fantasy 7.
Tomb Raider was Lara Croft, shall we say, was one of the mascots for the PlayStation back in the day. It was a PlayStation exclusive. Yeah,
and Crash Bandicoot.
Another mascot.
Silent Hill.
That didn't make the list, but
Did it
yes, a fantastic game.
Okay, they're about 5. Spyro was quite popular, wasn't it?
Yeah, that didn't make the 10 though. But yeah, that's some fantastic picks there. I'm not going to read the middle part of this because again, we'll be here forever. It's a cracking article. Again, I did read through it this morning. It is in the chat. Feel free to go back and look through it. It will be in the show notes as well. So if you are listening to this on podcast services like
SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. And
this guy, hey, Grave is better than you, mate. You nailed them straight out of the ballpark. But yes, they are the 4 podcast services that we put this on, so you'll be able to catch all the show notes as well as on YouTube later on. You're just looking at the show notes, you'll be able to see them all there. But yeah, it's a girthy article. So number 10 is FIFA Soccer 96. I did not expect to see this in there, but again, I'll read through it. The first ever FIFA game on PlayStation, although the game with the same title was also released on the Mega Drive and older formats as isometric, purely sprite-based games. None of the other FIFA games from this area are remembered particularly fondly. There was also no PES either, just sister iterations of International Superstar Soccer. But the groundbreaking presentation, including the real commentary from the familiar pundits of the day, had a huge effect on the PlayStation's potential mainstream audience, and it became the instant bestseller in the UK. Even today, FIFA might not be the favourable of many core gamers, but a large swath of... I'm sure that's how you say that. Probably not.
Swath?
Something
like that? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a word that us back in Newton never really written down. For more casual players, it can be one of the only handful of games they ever played. Now, I'm not particularly sure the PES statement is correct because I had the original Pro Evolution Soccer and Pro Evolution Soccer 2 on the PlayStation 1. So I don't think they've done their research in that.
Yeah, probably not. And you are the master of PES.
Yeah, so. We were talking through PES covers the other day, and I was rattling off what was on each one.
Exactly.
Need to get a life. But yeah, PES definitely was on there, and it definitely would have beat FIFA to it as well. Apart from FIFA 97, because that was the one where you could play indoor football, and that for me, give my love affair for things like FIFA Street, things of that nature. So coming in at number 9. Would you like to read this one?
Yeah, I can read it. I'll have to lean over.
No, that's fine, mate. That's fine. I've got a portable laptop.
Although the PlayStation... Oh, and by the way, this is Crash Bandicoot. Although the PlayStation 1 easily outsold the Nintendo 64 and Sega Saturn. You remember the Sega Saturn? Christ.
I didn't have one of them.
I don't think anyone did. Sony never stopped searching for their own mascot equivalent to Mario and Sonic. Although Sony never actually owned Crash Bandicoot, and after falling out with co-publisher Universal Interactive, the rights eventually... ended up almost by accident with Activision. Crash Bandicoot's games were never anywhere near as good as Nintendo or Sega's best, but he was a fun character, and the 3D visuals offered something distinctly different to anything from previous generations. It also happened to mark the first time that Sony worked with developer Naughty Dog, who much later went on to create Uncharted and The Last of Us.
There we go. So the big Crash Dog is coming in at number 9. Ooh, use my mouse there to scroll down. Number 8, something that you picked out before, Tomb Raider. It's easy to forget just how monumental the leap was from the 16-bit area of gaming to the PlayStation. Released just a few months after Super Mario 64, Tomb Raider would have been the first 3D third-person adventure for many people. Its controls were clunky even at the time, and its graphics often hard to make out clearly. But the freedom it offered in terms of explanation, interaction, and the scenery was like nothing we'd ever seen before. That, and however dubious her portrayal might have seemed today, it was one of the first games that with a prominent female protagonist. Tomb Raider 2 is a better game overall, but it lacks the iconic opening of the original, with the scenes of the Tyrannosaurus Rex that has still yet to be matched by any of its sequels.
That's a bit of a classic. And the butler and all that kind of stuff.
Everyone locked the butler in the in the freezer. You also had that little it was like a crash course thing, wasn't it? Like an obstacle course in the middle, in the back garden.
Yeah, I think to be honest, like I said, I didn't have a PlayStation, so I had a PC. I had, I think, a demo version of it on the PC. And I just remember not even partially because there was, by nature it's a demo, so you couldn't go through and play that much anyway. But I just used to spend forever just in that mansion area. That's just basically all I did. It
didn't feel like, however long it taken me to play that game, I could never get used to how it controlled because there'd be a platform that you have to try and get as close towards the edge for you to be able to jump. Every single time I fell down the platform, I just couldn't get used to it. It was mad. Then again, it came out in '96, and I don't think I got the PlayStation until about 97, 98.
Well, yeah, it's like when they were saying at the start of this, 94, whatever it came out in Japan. I'm pretty sure, most people didn't really have one until at least 96 here, if not 97 or something, I got my Nintendo 64, and that was probably around then, 97, something like that. So, I think it took a few years really to get going.
Absolutely. So that was number 8. Do you want to read number 7?
I'll read out this one. It is Wipeout. As much as Ridge Racer was beloved by fans around the world, if you ask most European gamers what the most memorable PS1 launch title was, they'll probably say Wipeout. It was also a 3D racing game, but a futuristic one, heavily influenced by Nintendo's F-Zero. The twitchy controls made it less accessible than Ridge Racer, but its soundtrack, featuring acts like Left Field, the Chemical Brothers, and Orbital, was groundbreaking for a video game. Sony used it to promote the game and the PlayStation brand as a whole at musical festivals and via controversial advertising that implied drug taking, as allegedly did the E in Wipeout. Of course, none of that was official, but it all created a level of publicity and recognition for the game, and games in general, that would have been impossible to imagine during the SNES and Mega Drive era.
It was a decent game, to be fair, Wipeout. I'm not a massive racing fan. There's obviously some exceptions to the rule that we mentioned before, like the Need for Speeds and things like that. Yeah. But I think I played a lot more F-Zero than I would have done Wipeout.
Yeah, I had F-Zero on the GameCube. Yeah. And I also had, the Star Wars Racer game.
Oh my god, the pod racing game. Oh my god.
I had that on Nintendo 64, and that was amazing.
That was incredible.
I love the fact that there were loads of shortcuts and stuff that you could take in that as well. And I kind of expect that from these kind of games now. I want there to be more little bits to discover and stuff. I don't know whether that had that.
Did you play the remake of this game that came out on the PS4?
I think we have it in the office actually.
Yeah, Graham's got a copy in his desk.
Yeah.
I never played the remake of it.
It's pretty fun. Yeah, definitely.
Then coming in at number 6 is Tekken. Battle Arena Toshiden was the first 3D fighter that most people saw on the PlayStation 1, but as impressive as the graphics were, it never really was a good game. Tekken, however, like Ridge Racer, was just another arcade conversion, although by the time it got to the iconic Tekken 3, the home console versions were beginning to take precedence. The preeminent 3D fighter of its time, the Tekken series was one of the most successful multiplayer games of any kind on the PlayStation 1, and one of the many third-party games so intrinsically tied to the PlayStation format, in the eyes of both the game makers and the general public, that it would take until Tekken 6 on the PlayStation 3 era before any of the mainline entries appeared on a rival console. I did not know that it was an exclusive
No.
to the platform until that time. I remember playing Street Fighter a lot, and I know that came out on the 360. But I'm just thinking now, what other fighting games would have come out on the original Xbox then? Because fair enough, I seen a lot of Tekken on the PlayStation, but it never clicked to me. I don't think it ever got promoted. Again, I was only a young lad growing up at that point.
Yeah.
That I never would have thought it was a PlayStation exclusive.
Was Mortal Kombat on the Xbox?
It would have been, yeah, because it would have been. What was the one that was like it wasn't just a one-on-one combat game. It was Shaolin Monks or something like that, Shaolin style.
I have no idea, to be honest.
It was kind of like it. Did you ever play Wu-Tang?
No.
Right, okay, so it's kind of like that. So it's like a four. So you have your protagonist, and then you'd be going up through sewers or whatever it might be to kill other people in like a more of a kind of like what it's like with the Batman stuff now. So you'll have loads of enemies around you, and you can keep on punching them and countering things like kind of like that. But that was way back in the day. I've just seen Kangaroo the Dog say Criminal that Oddworld isn't on there. I didn't have the best love affair with Oddworld.
Yeah, again, like, didn't have a PlayStation, but I had it on PC, I think, or at least some demo again of it. This is back when demos were a big deal on PC, but so I don't know. I don't feel like I've got a strong opinion either way on it. I kind of remember playing around with it for a little bit and just I wasn't addicted to anything. Like, put it that way.
I'm sorry, I was going to get you read this one, but I need to read this one.
The Resident Evil.
So coming in at number 5 is one of the best games ever made, Resident Evil 1. The game that coined the term survival horror, Resident Evil was an instant hit and did more to popularise the idea of mature-themed video games than any other PlayStation title, bar Gran Turismo and arguably Metal Gear Solid. The game was mocked both then and now for its cheesy dialogue and the voice acting, the absurd puzzles, and it managed to mix goofiness in with genuine scares in a way that only could ever work in a video game, and certainly never did with any of the movie adaptations. I love the films that came out of it. They're so shit and cheesy. That's why I love them. I don't know if it's because of how bad I grew up listening to voice actors like this.
Yeah.
Thankfully, in Resident Evil 2, that came out a year or so later, they kind of fixed that. But this one, when it comes down to voice acting, was horrendous. The fact that the modern remakes have gone on to change surprisingly little to work today is a testament to how great all 3 of these games were on PlayStation. Obviously, that includes Resident Evil 2 and the newly announced Resident Evil 3 remake, which potentially may be coming out next year.
Bet you're excited.
Just as excited as I was for Resident Evil 2, mate.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. So that for me, Resident Evil 1 on the PlayStation 1 defined the PlayStation 1 for me growing up. I definitely shouldn't have been playing this game at the age that I was playing it. However, I'm extremely glad that I was, purely because that's kind of how my gaming mentality changed. I prefer single-player storyline games and multiplayer ones. I like the experience of me and Graham talked about it a few times. You can pay £10 to £15 to go to the cinema now to watch a film for 2 hours, whereas you could pay £30 and you could be able to play this game for the however long that you see fit.
Yeah, exactly.
So story-driven games like this was fundamental to how I play games now, which is exactly why I'm in this franchise till the day that the franchise dies. It's got me every single one that comes out, regardless of if it's going to be a shit game. I'm probably still going to buy a Resident Evil game.
We all have those games, don't we? Sort of like those ones that we grew up with, and we were just at the right age or whatever. It just clicked in the brain or whatever. For me, it's like randomly Command and Conquer, which is a completely different kind of game. But so many other kind of games as well, like Zelda as well. But like Resident Evil, I as much as I like respect the series, I am not like a horror game sort of person myself. But clearly, it's pretty much the biggest out there. So fair play to Capcom.
Okay, so coming in at number 4 then.
Here we are.
This one's definitely
so
yours.
it's already been mentioned. Ridge Racer. So, like most consoles, the PlayStation 1 didn't have a particularly robust launch lineup, and while Ridge Racer was previously short on content, it remains one of the most memorable games of the whole PS1 generation. Not only was it fun and instantly accessible, but its graphics were stunning for the time and surprisingly close to the original arcade game. One glance at Ridge Racer was enough to convince many that the PlayStation should be taken seriously, in comparison not only to its rival consoles, but as a significant step forward in the evolution of home video games. So yeah, I guess I guess back in the day, you would go to the arcades just to see sort of games that looked even marginally realistic, wouldn't you? But but then
well, the main the PC that ran off the main processor or whatever it was back then was so much better than anything that you could get at home until obviously the PlayStation 1 came out. Now I'm just like, we'll having a look at the graphics again. If you've got the link that I dropped in the chat earlier, feel free to have a look for yourself. But this looks like how I still imagine most arcades running. I went to Arcade Club the other day and I was playing, I don't know, Outrun or something like that, and it's very similar to this still. But at the time, being able to play these kind of games at home is unbelievable, really.
Yeah, it still weirdly looks good. I mean, obviously not PS4 level good, but some old games you look at and they does actually look horrendous, and you're like, I can never bring myself to play that, but that looks alright.
I'll tell you what, mate, I'll let you have this one.
No worries.
This is definitely yours.
Alright, so we're on to top 3 now. Number 3 is Metal Gear Solid. The most recent game on this list. PlayStation 2 was released in Japan in March 2000, and still one that has an enormous influence on gaming to this day. It says something about the state of video game storytelling at the time, that its borderline nonsensical ramblings and anime sensibilities were seen as daringly mature. But it wasn't just the relatively serious atmosphere that made it famous, but the cinematic presentation that only Hideo Kojima was bold enough to take to the extremes he did. For many, the Metal Gear Solid formula was never more perfectly distilled than in the original, which, apart from anything else, proved that an auteur, I never really quite know how to pronounce it, could produce a successful, big-budget game that didn't pander to current trends, but instead created them itself, something Kojima continues to try to do to this day via Sony with the recent Death Stranding. Obviously a big deal in gaming.
Absolutely. This, again, is definitely one of the PlayStation 1 classics. The reason it was included on the PlayStation 1 classic that came out last year. Yeah. When you think of the PlayStation 1, I'm fairly certain that you're probably going to get about 90% of people that say Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, I think so.
And Metal Gear Solid 2 was my two favourite Metal Gears. Like, everyone loves the third one. The fourth one, the fifth one, the Phantom Pain. I played it. I just can't connect with it anymore like I used to do. But this is still amazing.
It's kind of the opposite for me, having not grown up with the original Metal Gear Solids. Like Metal Gear Solid 5 was like accessible because it was different. Whereas because I kind of retrospectively went and tried to play like 1, 2, 3, etc. I can tell they're really well-made games for the time, but it's always difficult to go back to a game of that sort of generation, and you get frustrated with like the really bad camera angles compared to nowadays and stuff like that. But obviously, like, it still remains like a huge series that I think, like, when you look at Metacritic and Metal Gear Solid, it's just so consistent.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's 90 odd like every time. It's always in like best game of the year sort of territory whenever they get released. So,
well, I mean, a Hideo Kojima game is only as good as the people who are around him, i.e. the voice actors in this. So the storyline, kind of, I don't want to say it writes itself, but with the mind like Hideo Kojima, whatever he puts down on the piece of paper, he's probably going to do quite well. But the iconic Solid Snake, with the way that he talks and the way that it's pronounced by David Hayter, it's amazing. But the mind tricks that they used to play with the memory card thing, having to put it into the second slot and thing, it revolutionised again storytelling, very much like for me with the way that Silent Hills and Resident Evil was. This kind of take it that step further.
Yeah, it just made it like cinematic purely, didn't it? Really, like video games.
And it looks like we've had a wild Graham in the chat using the Ice Cream Uploads account. Happy birthday to you, pal. I don't know if you seen the beginning of the show where we both wished you happy birthday.
Yes,
we
happy
had
birthday.
Yes. We had the little things. We had a lot, but we didn't see you was here, so we put it away.
We've eaten all the cake now. So.
And Next Gen Renegade, i.e. part of the Ice Cream team, Mr. Craig upstairs. My fave ever game. So again, it resonates with a lot of people that if you had a PlayStation 1, chances are you've probably played this game. But yeah, Graham just says Tara as well. Right, moving on to number 2. Again, Graham, if I don't know how long you've been in the chat, just for you, I will drop this in the chat for you again, so you'll be able to see where we're up to and the top 10 games as written by Metro for the PlayStation 1 in their eyes. So, Gran Turismo 2 Gran Turismo is number 2 on this list. So much like FIFA before it, the importance of Gran Turismo was not so much in whether it was a good game or not, although in this case it was, but the fact that it appealed to an audience well beyond gaming's normal teenage fan base. This was the game for anyone of any age, as long as they had at least a passion and interest in cars and race driving. Gran Turismo sold itself and its realism and its maturity. This was no cartoonish kart racer, but a real driving simulator filled with the officially licensed vehicles and music. Ultimately, the subject matter didn't really matter. Although the subject matter didn't really matter, it wasn't this much car race. Oh my god, what a sentence that is! Ultimately, even the subject matter doesn't really matter. It wasn't that this wasn't the most popular realistic car game ever made. It was that it was a serious enough product that it pushed the boundaries of what video games, especially a console video game, could be. What a sentence that was! Wow. I couldn't get me.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was a weird one. They could have probably worded that better. But anyway.
But yeah, Gran Turismo. I do think that this was one of the first games that I played on the PlayStation 1, purely because my granddad loves racing games.
Cool.
This, Medal of Honor, Resident Evil, and Gex 3D Enter the Gecko was probably my first 4 games. So quite a collection going on there.
Yeah, exactly. Variety.
I absolutely loved. I don't know if it was this one or the second one. I can't quite remember. But you had to get your licenses before you could go onto the track.
Perfect. Just like straight away, like learn and then become the best within like a split second.
It was the hardest thing in the world, though. Like some of them was you had to go around the corner at like 60 mile an hour and be able to brake at a certain point that you landed in between a certain sets of cones. But they all got progressively harder because obviously you want to get into bigger races, so you need to get better driving licenses as you went along. But yeah, for me, that was kind of like the bar of racing games. If you wanted to be considered half as good, you've obviously got things like Mario Kart, which is a party game. It's not.
Yeah, it's not like the same thing, is it? No. But it's interesting that there's been 3 racing games in this top 10.
Yes, Wipeout, Ridge Racer, and now Gran Turismo.
Yeah, so it was obviously a good time for racing games. You don't really get, many racing games mentioned in top 10s nowadays, I don't think, for consoles or whatever. There's some good ones out there, but I think this might be the heyday for the genre.
Yeah. So coming up to number 1 then, there's a few games that you mentioned that isn't in this list. Mm-hmm. Do you know what you think number 1 is?
I actually don't now. I even thought maybe Metal Gear Solid was going to be potentially fighting for number 1. I'm probably missing a really obvious one, but
it is.
When was...
I'm going to give you a hint. It's the most obvious one.
Right, hang on, GTA.
No, actually, that didn't make the list.
That's weird. I suppose. I don't know. Go on. I'm just going to have to. I'll be here all day.
Right. Okay. I'll let you read it. I'll let you scroll down and I'll let you read it.
Oh, okay.
Because I've already seen it.
Ooh. Oh, I even mentioned it earlier. Right. Final Fantasy VII, obviously. Right, as far as Japan was concerned, the defection of Final Fantasy and Enix's Dragon Quest from Nintendo console to Sony's new format was the final proof that the new challenger had beaten the old master. But in Europe, Final Fantasy VII was the first entry in the series to ever be released here, and for many the first Japanese-style role-playing they'd ever played. The visuals and presentation were like nothing that had ever been seen before, an epic on a scale impossible on either the previous generation or the Nintendo 64's meagerly sized cartridges. Final Fantasy VII was the ultimate proof of why the CD-ROM was so vitally important to the PlayStation 1 success, and whatever you think of the actual game, made it one of the most important technical and marketing milestones in video game history. Wow.
Yeah, so did you know that it was originally meant to come out on the N64, but because it was only one cartridge, and I think it only possessed, stupidly, it was like 100 megabytes of information. Imagine how stripped back this game would have had to have been to be able to fit it on a cartridge.
It's crazy. I remember like when hearing about the original PlayStation versus the Nintendo 64, that seems to be the single biggest reason. It's the fact that Nintendo 64 used cartridges as to why it was perceived to be like the loser of that generation. Like partially because of the whole data thing, and partially because they're actually more expensive to make as well. I think. So yeah, I mean this is just like the epitome of that, isn't it? It's interesting. It's number 1 when it like epitomizes that more than any other game.
4 discs this came out with.
Yeah, it's crazy.
4 discs. I can't think of any other game that wasn't a PC game, because PC games back in the day, like I think I've still got Red Alert at home, and that was like 4 or 5 discs as well. A PlayStation game that had that many discs. I'm just trying to think now. Resident Evil 2 came with 2 discs because you had Claire's story on one and Leon's on the other. Now, funnily enough, that game did actually come out on the N64.
Right.
However, the whole cutscenes, it was all compressed down, so that the audio was kind of out of sync and the frame rate wasn't as good. But they still managed to get it onto the cartridge. But then no way in God's green earth would this have been able to fit onto a cartridge, unless you had 17 cartridges and you just had to keep them popping them in and out.
It'd be ridiculous. I mean, it's bad enough as it is in a way, like having 4 CDs or whatever to have to put in. But
was Metal Gear Solid 2 CDs?
I've no idea.
I think it was 2 discs.
Craig will be able to tell us, or someone.
Yeah. His favourite ever game. You better be able to stump up and at least give us a clue.
Yeah.
But I'm fairly certain. I think I remember it being in a double dual case.
Right. Yeah. Quite possibly. It's weird in a way that nowadays that doesn't happen at all. Is it because you just download all the extra data that can't fit on the disc, sort of thing?
Yeah, because I think the Blu-ray discs out there so hold about 50 gigs of information,
right,
which is obviously quite a lot, and then you usually have like a 30 gigabyte download when you put it in on day one.
Yeah.
Apart from the case of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, where they literally only had the tutorial on the disc, and the rest of it had to be downloaded via a patch. So obviously when that game went off the server, if you had a physical copy of the game, you ain't playing anything on that anymore.
Wow.
But yeah, that was 25 years of PlayStation as told by Metro. Again, it is in the chat for those of you that stuck around. I hope you've been able to read that along with us. It is a lengthy old article, so we just skim through the top part of it and then listed out the 10 for you and give a bit of detail. Again, it's going to be in the show notes, so feel free on any of the podcast services, including YouTube, as it'll go up an hour after the show's finished. Have a look at the show notes and you'll be able to watch that.
Absolutely. Owen Craig says it was 2 discs, saying that it came with a Silent Hill demo disc too, so might have actually been one.
Okay. Interesting. So we put out a clickbaity title with this tweet to go out today. It's an article that I've read already, as I kind of need to read them to be able to pull them together. It is clickbaity, but we're going to go through it anyway. So I'm going to drop it in the chat for you now. It is the second article of the day. We will try and get these through. We know we don't want you to be knocking around for 2 hours out of your day with us, especially when we're doing this live. You can catch us on other podcast services. I'm just going to keep on plugging it. But this is Spider-Man 2, and it's released for the PS5. So it's been written on VG247 by Sherif Saed, a name that Graham tries to get me to pronounce all the time because he knows that I cannot pronounce names very well. Or words. Spider-Man 2 to release in 2021. Report. A sequel to Spider-Man... I'll start again. Words. A sequel to Spider-Man may not be as long as some people expect to come out. It's no secret at this point that last year's Insomniac Spider-Man reboot has been a runaway success and a critical darling. Sony even went and bought Insomniac Games to a sequel of the game is all but confirmed, but can we realistically expect Spider-Man 2? Well, according to Kinda Funny Games, Imran Khan, it's due to come out in holiday 2021. Which is in 2 years' time.
Good maths.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. My maths is clearly better than my words. Which would be 3 years after the original. Spider-Man 2 is probably not coming on PS5 launch, he said in a recent episode of the Kinda Funny Games cast. I think it's around Christmas 2021. I know not too much about this, but I can speculate too much. I know too much about this, so I can't speculate too much. I know too much about this, so I can't speculate. So he already knows about the day when it's coming out.
Right.
He's obviously signed a waiver somewhere, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So I think Spider-Man 2 will come sooner than we think. Right, okay, so if he says he thinks, he already knows. He's just dropping little small hints so that people can write articles like this.
Sooner than we think. Interesting.
Yeah. So in 3 years' time, 3 years after the original came out, 2 years from now, around the holiday period, so that'll probably make it mid-November. When do you think it's different in America because they have Thanksgiving and everything beforehand, which I think is the beginning of their holiday period.
It is. I think when they say coming this holiday season or whatever, E3 or whatever, I think that's what they mean. It's like November. So yeah, maybe if sooner than we think, maybe that doesn't mean 2021. Maybe that means the end of 2020. I don't know, but I suppose maybe that's a bit ambitious.
Did you play the original?
I've not played it yet.
Have you not?
I'm waiting. I'll definitely play it. It's on my to-play list along with Red Dead 2. There's like so many, and God of War, there's like so many amazing games that I've still not played. that will all be getting cheaper, hopefully, on the PlayStation Store as well, and in sales and stuff.
I think I've seen that the PlayStation Store is around about 75% off at the moment, but I don't know if it's got included into the PlayStation's Greatest Hits collection, which would mean it would be £16 maximum.
Right, okay.
And then you can find it if it's in the sale again. I think God of War went down to like £6 or £7.
Sweet.
And that is a PlayStation Greatest Hits game. But yeah, I don't like the fact that he said, I can't speculate too much because he knows too much, but he thinks it's going to come out. Because that kind of led you to believe that he could just say whatever and people are going to buy it, because he knows that whatever he says is probably going to get taken on Reddit and then articles like this that we're reading about. But yeah,
you just can't know something and then say I think.
But yeah, at the minimum we know that now potentially that it's going to be Christmas 2021. Do you think this will be a system seller?
It's an interesting question. Maybe. I mean, if you're going off the success of the first one, then it will certainly have high demand. I suppose the only thing about the original Spider-Man, from my understanding, is that it's quite a short game, right? Doesn't mean it's not going to sell systems, but maybe it's like you got certain games like a GTA game, whatever, and people are streaming it for like years and years to come. The content's continually being made for it. I don't think it'll have that sort of impact, but yeah, maybe.
I think it all comes down to marketing. I get the same with every single game, because you've got Christmas holidays coming up in 2021, which is when the PS5 and the Xbox Ones are going to be released. Yeah, they're going to bring out more bundles as the years go down the line, so you can bet your ass that this is going to have a PlayStation 5. I don't think it's going to have a Pro version by then. I think you'll probably be a year away from that. But you can guarantee that this is going to have a bundle PlayStation 5, because you still get the bundles now with like FIFA 20 and Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Usually,
so if people can't afford them on release, then the year later is going to have a significant discount. Like you'll be able to pick up an Xbox One now with 3 games, a load of V-Bucks for Fortnite for £99.
It's crazy how little Xbox Ones are going for at the moment. They clearly want to get them into as many houses as they can, don't they, at the moment? But...
Well, I don't know if I actually touched on this, but I do think that the Xbox One could potentially be the Stadia of its time, especially with the Xbox One S being the all digital. All you need to do is buy that console for £99 and then just buy the Game Pass.
Yeah,
literally buy the Game Pass. And then you've got a Stadia at home. Fair enough, you can't take your PlayStation everywhere with you, but that's what xCloud's apparently meant to be doing. But yeah, you've kind of got yourself an old system.
And you know it's going to work better, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the main thing.
You've now got Game Pass, haven't you, for your PC?
Yeah, I've got it for the PC, and it's great. And that's like a small version of like the actual Xbox One. There's nothing like as many games, but I'm still using it. I'm playing like the Outer Worlds at the moment on it.
Yeah, a game that I was extremely excited to be able to play on mine via Game Pass, but it didn't work properly.
Yeah, right.
Oh my god! So Pirate has subscribed with a tier 1 for 2 months. I very much appreciate that, pal. Next Gen Renegade says it makes sense if the city is already in place. It would just mean capturing mocap for the new story, which is exactly why we think that the Resident Evil remake is going to be coming out next year at some point, because they've already got Raccoon City there. They've already got all the assets created. All they need to do is just do all the mocap, get the voice acting done, and your game's ready to go. Yeah. So again, they've already got the city. They've done the hard part of scoping out all the textures and things like that. True. They've already got the model of Spider-Man sorted.
Yeah.
I don't think it should take them that long to be able to finish it.
Yeah, it would actually be kind of stupid if they didn't just utilise that some more, wouldn't it, really? Given the effort they put into it. So
it'd be interesting to see how much they'd have to resize the textures and things like that, though, if it is a native 4K system. They would have to double the size of all the textures that are already there to look as crisp, because we've seen it in games before where they've tried to resize the texture, it just looks blurry, it just looks a bit naff.
I suppose though, it's like obviously like the PS Pro is 4K, right? So and it runs on that.
Absolutely.
So maybe they've already done that, as it were. I don't know.
Yeah, just thinking about that then, when I said that it's going to be a 4K system straight out of the box, I wonder then what they're going to be able to do after that, because you're meant to be able to play your PS4 games on your PS5.
Sure.
So I don't know if it's just going to be an emulator, so you can actually play the PS4 games that are just like a normal 1080.
Yeah.
Would it be that? Would a 4K system be downgraded to 1080 because I don't own a 4K TV. I don't own a normal HD LED, whatever they called these days.
I would have thought again though, like if these games, well, for the games that do have PS4 Pro support, that would be fine though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I imagine it'd just be like playing it on your normal PS4.
Yeah, there are certain like other things. Obviously, the PS5 brings as well. Like apparently, like a higher. I think it's got a high refresh rate. I seem to remember looking up. But,
I'm just seeing Graham in the chat and saying ray tracing will make a massive impact on the lighting in the city too. I imagine there'll be a big chunk of work. True. Yeah, so that it's not just gonna. When I say it should just be easy enough to translate over, I absolutely understand that they've got a lot more work to do. It's not as if they're bringing out 2 games on the same console where everything would have been there.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of it there, but I don't know how long they would have had the PS5 dev kits for to be able to even have a look at what it is that I know they've actually tested this game on the PS5 already and said that the loading times was like reduced by 80%.
Yeah.
So they've obviously got enough work going on with it. We'll just have to see how it comes out. I do think that when the PS5 comes out, I want to see what games are going to be released on the PS5 alongside the PS5. There have to be system sellers. We've talked about it before. Could it be a brand new Gran Turismo? Is it going to be Horizon Zero Dawn? What other games have we got? Is it God of War 2 that no one's talked about or anything yet? I mean, God of War has been out 2 years, I want to say now. So they probably are due one sometime soon, I imagine.
Yeah, isn't there going to be a new Horizon Zero Dawn as well? I feel like I saw that somewhere.
Yeah.
But whether that's PS4 or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or PS5.
Craig saying, didn't they do a showcase of Spiderman Next Gen which has 0 load times, 60 FPS and ray tracing? I think they did, yes. I'm not too sure about that. And Graham goes on to say PS5 will be 8K compatible too, so probably won't work on textures and upgrades, but they'll be having a big starting point for the first game for sure. I hope and think that the potential like to see the very best launch lineup with the next gen consoles. I mean, with both consoles launching at the same time, i.e. Xbox and PlayStation, it's going to be first out the gate at this point. I think going at the end of the life cycle of both these consoles, I do genuinely think that Xbox are edging it, leading out to it. Basically, with the fact that Game Pass is doing so well.
Yeah, I kind of feel that a little bit in terms of the end. I mean, I think PlayStation obviously have definitively won this now because they had such a good start. But yeah, definitely Xbox have caught up. And if I were to somehow imagine like me just getting the console for the first time now, like between the two, I might lean towards Xbox One. The problem is obviously the exclusives to PlayStation.
Yeah,
that's what
that'll always be
gives them
the
the
case.
edge. Yeah, and that's what would potentially make me pick a PS5 again. So it really does come down to the games, you know.
Well, we know that they're not going to have Last of Us 2 on so far the PC or the Xbox One, and that is going to be a system seller for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So we expect to see what they'll be able to do with the PS5 when it launches. It's next year, next Christmas. This Christmas that's coming up, not the one. Oh, Jesus Christ! Christmas 2020 is going to be a hell of a holiday period. I think the amount of marketing that's going to go into it, the amount of ball swinging that they're going to come out on stage with the likes of what they used to do with passing the game over to someone. This is how you share games. Exactly. The Billy Big Balls moments that are going to eclipse anything that Stadia have come out and said, because at least Sony have been able to back it up.
Yeah, can't wait for like the next E3 as well.
It's going to be great. Isn't it? Anyway, as I said, we've got a lot to be able to try and cram in for you today. So that was 2 of the 6 articles. Let's try. We'll go. Okay, we'll choose this one. We don't want to end on sour notes, so we'll get this one done. Do you want to read this one?
Yeah, sure. Alright, this is from Eurogamer, Matt Wales. Riot to pay out $10 million as part of gender discrimination class action lawsuit settlement. Will affect all female employees from last 5 years. So, every female employee that has worked for League of Legends developer Riot Games in the last 5 years will receive payment from a proposed $10 million settlement fund, following a class action lawsuit alleging, quote, gender discrimination in pay and promotion, sexual harassment and retaliation against women working at the company. The news follows Riot's announcement in August that it had made the decision to settle the suit in order to demonstrate its commitment to owning our past and to healing the company so that we can move forward together. At the time, Riot said it could not share the details of the settlement until it had been reviewed and approved by the court. According to the Los Angeles Times, Riot and the 2 plaintiffs plaintiffs, is that how you say it?
Plaintiffs.
Involved in the lawsuit have all agreed to the terms of the settlement, although the court is yet to give its final approval. The proposed settlement will reportedly affect almost 1,000 women who work at Riot Games from November 2014 until the date the settlement is finalised, with exact payouts being determined by length of employment and status as either a full-time or contract worker. A copy of the proposed settlement obtained by Kotaku notes that the $10 million payout figure, reportedly one of the largest in California history for a gender discrimination lawsuit, is a response to what the plaintiffs' lawyers determined to be a significant difference in salary between men and women working at Riot Games. The settlement is another important step forward, said plaintiff lawyer Ryan Saba in a statement provided to Kotaku, and demonstrates our commitment to living up to our values and to making Riot an inclusive environment for the industry's best talent. The class action lawsuit is just one of several gender discrimination suits filed against Riot over the last year. The company attempted to halt 2 others by insisting that those involved had waived their right to sue under the terms of their employment contracts, a decision that resulted in over 150 employees staging high-profile staff workouts in protest back in May. When Riot initially announced its plans to settle the class action lawsuit in August, rioters against force arbitration, that's all in capitals, so it's a thing, which organised the walkouts, said, "Settling this class action is a victory for women in games. We believe that this and Riot's policy changes help continue the progress towards equity, and we've made that we've made over the past year. While this settlement helps bring peace of mind to women at Riot, we want to acknowledge that issues of discrimination and harassment go beyond gender and acknowledge the victims who aren't covered in this suit." Phew. Right.
Lengthy article.
Yes.
So, was you aware of what was happening at Riot?
This was going back a fair few months, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I seem to remember it, but I'd also forgotten about it largely. It's bringing back a few memories about it, but yeah.
To be fair, I didn't know that this was actually happening.
Yeah.
I remember having them having a mass walkout because they was taking pictures outside with placards and things like that as there was protesting. But I'm extremely happy that this has come about because it's not. Riot will not be the only video game company in the world, or any. It doesn't even have to be a video game company that discriminate against certain types of people, whether or not it be gender or their sexuality or however it is that they're being discriminated against. So the fact that a massive company starting on something as video games is now getting this going against them, because Riot Games, they're making millions and millions and millions of people who are busting their ass every single day, especially on a game like League of Legends. That's bringing the huge amount of audience money through the door for them to be able to say, oh, just because you're a female, you're not going to either get paid as much as they are, or you're not in front of the camera, you're doing exactly the same job, but we're going to pay you less and things. Just small little shitty things like that. It's a good job that people that when you said it was capitalised, what was it? Against forced rioters against forced arbitration, RAFA. Okay, so that's clearly their union. Have been able to set up and get that many people behind it, because 150 people could have potentially lost their jobs. I mean, they'd have sued their ass. You can't do stuff like that when you're in a union. But the fact that they managed to get that many people to say this isn't right kind of thing, we're going to take your entire workforce and we'll go elsewhere kind of thing. It's brilliant.
Yes, definitely. I'm just going to say it's a good point you make about like how this will encourage hopefully other companies to do something similar as well, or react in a similar way. It's important stuff.
10 million is a huge chunk, and the fact that it's going back, I think it said 5 years. It will affect all female employees from the last 5 years. I don't know whether or not they've been forced to do that or they've done that. I'm guessing it's probably been forced, because they would have said, the last 12 months, because that's when it's all come out. But the fact that it's gone back 5 years and it only come into the limelight earlier this year or late last year means that there's going to be a lot of people who are not just going to be well off now, but know full well that if anything happens like that now, they're going to be front page news again.
Let's hope that it does sort of stop that. I mean, the only problem I suppose you could say about it is that or the cynical view, shall I say, that you could take is, they just think that throw a bit of money and it will solve the problem or whatever. So let's hope that they also sort of address the deeper sort of underlying problems as well.
The people at the top are the people who was making these decisions in the first place. I can't imagine that they would have lost their jobs over it, because they would have just seen it as a learning curve. They'll go through some sort of like when Bernardo Silva posted that picture of Mendy and then the little cartoon thing. They told him that he was going to get fined, and he had to go through like some I can't remember the words that they used. He had to go through some like training kind of thing, just to say that the use of social media is blah blah blah. I imagine these people would have to go through the same thing as well.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So yeah, who knows? Yeah, I don't know much more about it. Like I was saying at the start, but yeah, definitely important.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got through that one. We're making good time there. Making good time. So we've done that one. Okay, this one's probably going to affect, maybe not us, but a lot of people on YouTube. I'm just going to take this one. So I know this is a little bit rushed. We usually are. We actually started on time today, at 10 o'clock, but we want to try and get this boxed off as fast as possible, because we've got other things that are happening in the office at the same time. So this one's dropping into the chat right now, and it is YouTube is changing the way it moderates violent video games content. Now, I seen this break yesterday. It was late, according to this. It was 9:20. I didn't read it because I wanted to read it today. I've still not read it, so we'll see how this one goes. So YouTube is changing up how it previously moderates violent video games and content. Starting today, video game violence will be treated by YouTube the same way that any scripted content is treated. That means that few restrictions for violence in video games, with future game uploads requiring only approval instead of being age restricted. Google will still continue to protect viewers from video real-world violence, however. We know there is a difference between real-world violence and scripted or simulated violence, such as when you see in movies and TV shows and video games, and said a YouTuber represented today as an announcement of changes. So we want to make sure that we're enforcing our violent video and graphic content policies consistently. Sorry, I don't know if that was a burp or that was like a yawn that I was trying to hold in. It was just something was happening. I apologise. And the company says that it may still age restrict content if violence or gory images is the sole focus of the video. For example, if the video focuses entirely on the most graphically violent part of a video game. That being said, these changes have no effect on advertiser guidelines, so some particularly gracious depictions of violence in video games may still face limited or no ads. Right.
Okay.
So this is a massive win, because you've seen it in the news recently, or in fact, I'll say recently, as far back as when the PlayStation. In fact, we'll go back further than that. When the likes of the SNES and the Mega Drive was coming out, and you could play Mortal Kombat at home. I think Mortal Kombat was the game that actually invented the ESRB.
Was it?
Was it that? I can't remember.
Well, I do remember, like in the early days, there were certain games you could switch blood on and off on, and stuff like that, weren't there? And
it could be Mortal Kombat that was the reason why they had to invent. Or was it Doom? I can't remember. I'm sure if you're in the chat, feel free to let me know. But it was a game like that they had so much violence in the game that I thought, oh, Jesus Christ, we need to put kind of like an age rating thing on this. And ever since then, especially when the likes of Grand Theft Auto 1 came out, and there was another game, Thrill Kill, that was a game that got banned everywhere. Like, you couldn't get hold of that game. I think you can now, but you had to put a code in at the beginning of the game to be able to play it. It was that bad kind of thing. But yeah, the fact that now they're actually saying, okay, so real world violence, someone going around and terrorizing people, is completely different from what's happening in a video game, where the game has been developed to show and depict that, rather than someone who's got their own conscience is running around being able to do this shit. And that's I think this is a massive win going forward for anyone who creates content around likes of GTA. I mean, even in the likes of Sniper Ghost Warrior now, if you was to have the title of Rifle Takes Head Off or something like that on YouTube, I'm fairly certain you're going to get moderated by that. Yeah. Even though it's a game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Just to play sort of devil's advocate on this, though. So, say you've got a really violent game now going up on YouTube, and it doesn't have age ratings. Does that mean that it's now okay for like a 7 or 8 year old or whatever to watch sort of like someone's head being splattered?
Personal opinion, without actually having any kids, but having a lot of nieces and nephews, I think they are subject to it in every walk of life at the moment, whether or not it'd be on TV. Like, there'll be kids now that are watching the likes of Walking Dead, where zombies are just biting faces off and people are getting their heads decapitated and things like that. I think it's a lot more, I don't want to say normal, but it's a lot more, it's accessible is probably the word that I'm going to look for.
Yeah, it probably is. It's everywhere. And the other side of it is sticking like an age rating or whatever. Does that really work anyway?
It didn't with me.
Yeah, exactly. And increasingly not, I would imagine, because everything's just online now anyway, isn't it? So, yeah, I'd probably agree with you on that one.
Yeah. So, again, for anyone that creates content around, especially if you're making your living playing older games like GTA RP and things like that, you've got a chance now to be able to get your career back on track. You'll actually be able to monetize that now. Only in some certain examples, like say if the whole episode that you're putting out is taking hookers and banging them and doing coke off their ass and then killing them afterwards, chances are you're probably still going to get demonetized.
Yeah.
But they're being a bit more lenient against that now, so you'll have to just try it out and see what happens. But yeah, it's a massive win for anyone that creates content on YouTube, and it's something that has been required for a long time because it's been in the news for as long as I can remember about things like video games is inciting violence in today's youth and things like that, which has never ever been proven.
No.
And it's just a blanket statement by people that don't understand how video games are and work.
Yeah, hugely. It's just a general media thing as well. I remember learning about in my media studies course copycat theory or whatever the theory that someone watches something and then goes and does it. Except of course it's.
I mean, if that was true, I'd be a professional footballer by now. You know what I mean? So we've got 2 more news stories for you. Just dropping the second to last one in the chat now. I think this is definitely one for you to be able to read.
Yeah, it looks
I've made separate notes as well.
Ooh,
because this isn't a long article.
No,
but it doesn't. The video tells you everything that's in it, but we can't watch the video. We can't bring it up on stream. So I've made notes.
Okie dokie. Well, the article is, and it's on Kotaku by the way, and is by Alastair Jones. The hero of Hyrule is coming to Super Mario Maker 2. So, Super Mario Maker 2's latest update features a fan-favourite crossover from the Legend of Zelda series. As well as a host of new enemies and building blocks, the new content includes the Master Sword power-up, transforming everyone's favourite Italian plumber into the hero of Hyrule himself. Your new look isn't just cosmetic. As Link, Mario can use the... This sounds weird, by the way. As Link, Mario can use the Master Sword to pull off dash attacks and down thrusts to cut through enemies. If you're feeling a little more defensive, you can use the shield to block incoming projectiles, and if something's out of reach, you can use your bow and arrow to grab hold of it, or just blow it up with a bomb. Elsewhere, the update introduces classic enemies like Spike and Pokey. Great names. When it comes to building courses, there are also unbreakable P-blocks and high-speed dash blocks. The new content arrives on December the 5th.
So there's a lot more to that than they're letting out, and I do genuinely think that whoever's written this, Alastair, was it?
Yeah.
Not our Alastair. Alastair Jones. They could have broken this out because all you need to do is just watch the video and break it out.
Sure.
Essentially what I've done for this one. So I'm going to tell you everything that's coming out in the new Super Mario Maker 2 update, which arrives on the 5th, which I think is Friday, is it not? Today? No, Thursday.
Thursday, there we go.
Yeah, so it's out on Thursday. So the notes I've made are... Super Mario Maker New Editions. Spike can throw spiky balls, which in the winter will turn to giant snowballs, both of which can kill you if you touch them. Pokey, a tall cactus. If you touch it, you will lose a life due to its cactus-like nature. You'll have to avoid it or use Fire Mario or Yoshi to eat the pieces. In winter, it will turn to a snowman. So it's just exactly the same, it's just in a different skin.
Yeah.
Link has all his usual 8 and 16-bit abilities. The use of his Master Sword, Shield, Bow and Arrow, plus throwing bombs can give endless course possibilities. Speed Boost. The Speed Boost platform can now be used in game. Step on one and begin to run faster than Mr. Ball himself. The frozen coin blocks. The coin blocks which you can pick up, the coins which you pick up in the game can now be surrounded by ice, which can only be broken with fire elements, including Fire Mario, Burner, Fire Bar, and the Angry Sun.
It's good work there.
That's what I mean. I don't understand why they didn't just write that out.
Exactly, yeah.
They've just embedded the video and expect you to watch it. But we want to watch it, but we can't show you lot because of the situation that we've got. But yes, they are the new editions. It's coming out on Thursday the 5th. Are you still playing Super Mario Maker?
I've not played it for a little while, but I think it is a game that I will keep dipping into, when I'm feeling creative or whatever. And more content is always good. More
free as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, and I'm glad with that because they could have well put it behind some sort of paywall, given what they're doing with Super Smash Bros. At the moment. Because every character that releases is like a few quid. It's quite a lot of them.
They haven't mentioned that it's free. However, they haven't mentioned the price as well. But then again, this article hasn't mentioned next to anything.
Well, yeah.
They just embedded the video, so I assume it's free.
I think you're probably right there. It's not saying otherwise, is it?
No. And the video at the end doesn't mention. I mean, I can play this bit. You can see it. It'll usually just throw up exactly what's in there. Oh, there's a new thing in it as well that I didn't mention. Don't know if it's worth mentioning. But it's kind of a race to the end. So you run up against a load of little... I don't even know what they are. They look like little plush cushions. You'll see them in a second now. But again, if you have got the... I'll put the link in there. You can feel free to watch it yourself. But these little things here, I have no idea what they are.
Nope, no idea.
But you have to race to the end. It's first one to get to the end. So that's another mode in there. It doesn't say anywhere on that.
Yeah,
that's going to be paid.
It just says update on it.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, and definitely like speedruns and stuff were one of the most popular things to do on it as well. So it's no surprise they've got like more racy options there.
Yeah.
And stuff.
It looks cool though. Again, if you have got the article, feel free to go and watch the video in there. It is a well-made video, as it is made by Nintendo. So they tend to do quite well when they're promoting their own stuff.
No, sounds good. I'll definitely jump into it on 5th of December.
And the last one is more of a PSA. But Happy Halo Day.
Happy Halo Day.
Happy Halo Reach Day, mate.
Oh, it's Halo Reach Day on the same day as PlayStation's birthday.
And Graham's birthday. Do you know what I mean? I mean, what more can you ask for? So, Halo Reach is releasing today, the first game of the Master Chief Collection, which you can buy for £30. This isn't sponsored, by the way. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Someone just yodeling outside. But yeah, this is the first... it was Alastair in there doing the Halo. I thought it was someone outside the window.
That makes sense.
But yes, the first game of the Master Chief Collection, which you can pick up for £30 or for £7 per game, which I assume is going to be across the board because this one is £7. I will be picking it up tonight, so I'm just going to release this in the chat for you now. Boom. Okay. So this has been written on PC Gamer by Andy Chalk. Where is Alastair? Alastair is in the room sorting the studio out. Find out when Halo Reach unlocks in your time zone tomorrow. So preloading isn't available, which is a pain in the ass. So you might want to be sure to get the Steam app installed on your phone. Halo Reach is the first part of the Halo Master Chief Collection, unlocks on December 3rd, which is today, less than 24 hours from right now, which is...
not the case.
No, that isn't the case by the time I'm reading this. In other words, it's simultaneously worldwide launch. And if you're wondering what exactly that means for your particular time zone, I'm here to help. We're here to help. Not PC Gamer, because we're telling you the news right now.
Exactly.
Actually, 343 Industries Community Manager, John... June Sec?
Yeah, let's just go with that. Johnny Sec, yeah.
Is here to help. So, the only one that you'll be interested in is the British one, which the game unlocks tonight at 6 p.m. But just as a little courtesy to you, Germany's 7 p.m. I think that's a Russian flag. Yes, it is. It's in Moscow, 9 p.m. tonight. Tokyo, 3 a.m. Sydney, 5 a.m. Pacific time in America, 10 a.m. Mexico City, 12 p.m. Brazil, 3 p.m. So I don't know how many Brazilian listeners we've got.
No. Let us know if you you aren't from the UK and listen to our show every day, because that should be interesting to know.
Well, we're the UK's #1 video game podcast, mate. So it'd be nice if we could start to branch out everywhere else.
Exactly. Yeah, we've got to globalise now.
So Halo can be purchased on Steam for either $10, £7, or €10. Or is the opening chapter of the Master Chief Collection for $40, £30, or €40. Whichever way you go, this game is not preloadable, so you can only pre-purchase it now, but you won't actually be able to download the process until it drops. For much of North America, that isn't going to happen until the middle of the workday, blah, 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 blah. It tells you how to do it on the app. Halo Reach download size hasn't been specified, but the Steam listing indicates that it will be 20 gig of storage space, so you can reasonably expect something little south of that figure and prepare accordingly. The PC version will support 4K graphics and uncapped frames, plus ultra-wide support, field of view customization, and a host of other options. In case you're confused by the release timeline, Halo Reach came out in 2010, well after the launch of the original trilogy, but chronologically it takes place first, so we'll be releasing as the first of the Master Chief Collection. After Reach, we'll get Halo Combat Evolved, Halo 2, Halo 3, ODST, and then Halo 4, all of which are expected to arrive throughout 2020.
Nice. So you're excited?
Super excited, mate. I was going to stream this tonight.
All right, okay, yeah.
I was expecting this to be able to drop midday, so I could remote into my desktop at home to be able to set this download off.
Yeah.
However, this download won't actually be available to me until I at least be 3/4 of the way home. My internet isn't the best, so 20 gig, fair enough, I might be able to get it downloaded, but it'll be about 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So I ain't going to be able to play this tonight. So tomorrow we'll be streaming this one. I'll get it downloaded tonight.
That's good.
Well, I'm extremely looking forward to this. I probably will pick these up on a game-by-game basis because I have no idea when they're going to be releasing the rest of these games.
So, did you... I take it you're obviously a fan of these games and you played them originally when they originally came out? Or?
1 to 3.
1 to 3
and ODST, so I played 4 of the 6 that they're bringing out.
Cool.
I haven't played Halo 4 and I haven't played Halo Reach. So playing Halo Reach is going to be the first time I'm going to be playing through it.
I think Halo 3 is the only one I've played. I quite enjoyed it. Like, I'm not a super like Halo nut or anything. I just sort of like quite enjoyed it. I got it with that was 360.
360, yeah. It's probably one of the biggest games on the 360, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like, I got the 360 and thought, oh, what should you get with an Xbox 360? And obviously just picked up that game. It was just like the obvious thing.
Well, I think they released the original Halo alongside the original Xbox. It was kind of like a launch game. The original Halo was amazing as well. The second one was okay. Halo 3 was class. ODST is my favourite though.
Right, okay.
That's the one that I'm the most familiar with, shall we say.
Yeah.
Halo 3 I played a lot online, but ODST, I can't wait to play that one again. It's going to be great.
Sweet.
But I imagine by the time Halo 4 comes out, it's probably going to be Christmas next year with the way that it is. So I don't really want to stump up the 30 sheets net yet. I'll just play each one as they come along.
Well, if one drops like every couple of months or something, that's still like constantly playing Halo. Basically,
absolutely, yeah.
So.
Which is probably why I'm enjoying Destiny so much now, because it's basically the exact same thing. It plays phenomenally. I was playing. I stayed up till like 10:30 last night, which is like an hour and a half after my bedtime off usually. But I just couldn't. It was just that one more mission. I need to do one more mission. I did
see your tweet actually. Yeah.
I just want to continue with it. As soon as I get home tonight, watch a couple of episodes of Freak Show, American Horror Story, and then get back on that again. But yes, that is the last news story of today. Again, it's been a jam-packed one. We've been going for an hour. We've managed to fit all that into an hour and 15. Usually we're like third story by now. Efficiency. Number one pirate says, I need the Halo 3 theme tune right now, and Halo 3 was my favourite. I will not give you Halo. We haven't got the right acoustics in it, do you know what I mean? I'm just shying out of doing it. But yeah, that has been the scoop for today. The 3rd of December on a Tuesday, which is Graham's birthday, if you didn't already know that.
He has a habit of making people know. So.
The 25th anniversary of 25th birthday, shall we say, of PlayStation 1, and also happy Halo Day to all you Halo fans outside there. This will be available on YouTube within an hour's time, and it will be available on podcast services around about 3:30ish by the time the tweet goes out. You will find them earlier than that, but that's when we start to pull all the links together. Sure. This has been Luke stepping in for Mr. Graham Day.
It has indeed.
Is there anything else that you would like to say today?
Well, it was a pleasure doing the scoop with you today, baby.
Thank you, mate. It's the first time we've done it together.
I feel like I've learned a few things along the way about video games, so that's always good as well.
That's exactly what everyone's here for.
Exactly.
I mean, we work around the video games industry, and we've got a lot of opinions on stuff, which is usually why a lot of people decide to come in here and start to talk to us about them.
Yeah.
And so if you want to join in tomorrow, feel free to join us at 10 a.m. live on twitch.tv/ice cream uploads. Again, you'll be able to get this on podcast services in around about 4 hours time, but if you've missed it, feel free to watch this on Twitch on demand or on YouTube in about an hour's time. And until then, guys, I need to do this button first. Game over. Yep. Until next time, guys, stay frosty.